I wanted to point out, you both sort of laid out the positive vision, right? It's got to be pipeline from education all the way to support. It has to make sense in terms of organizational structure, in terms of actual needs, not imagined needs. That's it's the positive vision. I think the negative vision, I wanted to just highlight what you're not saying, which is you're not saying, just roll out ChatGPT to all the employees and say, go be more productive, right? So that's something that some organizations are trying, sometimes out of desperation or fear that they're not innovating quickly enough or something like this. So this is even before you get to ethics. It's sort of more like what's pragmatic, what actually makes sense strategically. And I think when it comes to maintaining talent, AI is not going to sort of be the magic wand that changes it. And one other thing related to that, I think when there's a common misconception that when you automate, you're sort of reducing the need for people. And I think one of the emerging principles that I think is really important for AI is this human in the loop concept, which is that AI doesn't replace someone, it actually makes someone's job better, more accurate, more explainable. Right? That's a very different vision for automation. This doesn't apply to all automation, but particularly for generative AI and types of AI. So I think that if we're worried about maintaining talent and generating talent, AI it may not play the role that you see in the headlines. And then you had a
Do
bigger
you think
question
it'll
about
help, in terms of generative AI and machine learning, the burnout issue that we just, discussed? Is that going to solve that business problem, or is that going to make it worse?
I'm not seeing it myself. I actually see companies trying to come up with educational, more training, and the training is to roll out stuff that doesn't have concrete use cases. It's kind of like, here's this new tool. It can do lots of things. Try it out. And for somebody who's already at their capacity in their job, they don't need a new tool that they're open to experiment with. To be in a state where the workforce can experiment means that they have free time and they're incentivized to do so. I don't think that that's really the context that we're talking about here in terms of maintaining talent.
Maybe I'll offer a couple of examples. We all are aware of Nuance, which is dictation technology, and it kind of raised a lot of eyebrows when Microsoft acquired them for a pretty large sum. But if you double click on why Microsoft acquired Nuance, their largest customer base were radiologists. 500,000 plus radiologists were using Nuance, and what they were using it for, dictation. And so this tool was not sort of new training, let's upskill radiologists at various sort of careers. It was a technology that solved the real issue, was typing out reports. So Nuance speech recognition was you dictate, but it was also trained on the ontology of sort of the terms and all, and it was a real sort of unmet need that helped, has a real fast adoption. Now what's going on with generative AI, in fact, it's a company called Rad AI. It's very popular amongst hospitals where it generates the report formatting for you. And at the bottom, it signs off by saying it's automated generated, signed by a radiologist. So that solves two things. First of all, it's not disruptive to a radiologist workflow. In fact, augments and sort of takes their burnout and reduces it. But also, it addresses this issue of compliance and everything else. It clearly starts to label that this was automatically generated, but there's a human in the loop, a radiologist signed off. And that reduction of 10 minutes a day per case could result in 2 or 3 hours of save. So some examples where I think I totally agree with what he said is that if we're going to deploy something like generative AI or tools like that where this automation, is it going to be met with friction, upscaling, and that adoption is low. But if you find real opportunities where it really augments and it's developed with the sort of the user in mind, or what we call them personas, right? And that's what some of the technologies kind of miss. They have this thing where you build and they'll come for it, and we've seen with many other technologies. So those are some good examples that I think I've seen in recent times to think about. Yeah.
I think there's also a common misconception that when you when you're talking about ethics, it's kind of this vague thing floating in the sky. But this type of thinking is really the foundation for ethical tech, which is to think about the user, and then it's even better if you can think about the users and the people around them, and identify like what are the actual needs. I mean, of course, avoid harms. That's always the case. But like the really tough ethics problems are, who am I trying to help? What are their like real needs? Who are their clients and other stakeholders? And when you start to do that work, like you're doing ethics. That's what that is. It just, I think that there's a cultural understanding that ethics is merely like rule following or something like that. Ethical tech is good tech, and good tech is one that's designed with a clear person, clear context in mind.